Today we're going to chat about the winners and losers from the Springbok team to face Ireland. Who gets in despite the performance and form of other players, and who has been surprisingly left out. As always, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you haven't, leave this video a like, and please make sure you absolutely mud that subscribe button, because we're trying to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we need you to come along on that journey with us. Let's get in to the winners and losers. So let's start off with the winners, the good news, the players that have made the team and who will probably feel a little bit lucky that they have. I don't think lucky is the right word, but they're definitely the winners in this situation. The first player is Willie le Roux. Now, Willie is one of those players where people either love him or really dislike him. I mean, even after winning the 2019 and 2023 Rugby World Cup, there are still a lot of fans that don't enjoy watching Willie le Roux play. They don't like his style of play, but they don't see the inner workings of Willie le Roux, his game management, his pinpoint kicking. He has the left foot, which gives us a lot more utility at that 15 position. He can play 10 and fill in for Andre Pollard, just changing the point of attack. I mean, he's also an extremely experienced player. He's approaching 100 test match. This is going to be his 95th test for the Springboks. And as he said on a podcast on Behind the Ruck, that Willie le Roux wants to play in the 2027 Rugby World Cup. So I don't think Willie is going anywhere. And I do think if Damian Willemse was fit, Willemse probably would have started, but Willie le Roux is definitely our most experienced, and I think he's definitely the second choice option at 15 at the moment behind Damian Willemse. Next, we're going to look at is Gerrit Steenkamp. Now, I think Gerrit Steenkamp, from an outsider's perspective, from a fan's perspective, is very fortunate to make this side. Now, Rassie has included him in on the bench, which did surprise me because Thomas du Toit has been in great form. Trevor Nyakana has done it for the Springboks before, and in this test match against Ireland, the Springboks do want experience. I mean, we've seen Rassie has gone for experience in the team, and he's sort of made a couple of picks here and there trying out new players. Now that one player is Gerrit Steenkamp. He comes in to replace Steven Kitshoff, and he's going to earn his second cap for the Springboks. He is, like I said, a very surprise inclusion, but he has had a very good season for the Blue Bulls in the URC and the Champions Cup, and I do think the first test being at Loftus definitely plays into Gerrit Steenkamp's favor because that's his home ground. They also just played Leinster a couple of weeks ago, so he does know how to scrum against that Leinster and Irish pack. So Gerrit Steenkamp is going to be a very interesting watch coming off of the bench, and who knows, maybe he surprises us and he is part of the squad that sort of moves into that 2027 Rugby World Cup. The next winners are Damien de Allende and Jesse Creel. Now, this partnership that Damien de Allende and Jesse Creel have sort of formed together equals the record for the most starting appearances as a center combination for the Springboks. They have been Mr. and Mrs. consistent. I don't know who the Mrs. is there, but Damien and Jesse Creel have been our go-to combination in that center pairing. I mean, we saw Andre Esterhuizen play against Wales, also a very good number 12. I think he just misses out to Damien de Allende in this side. Jesse Creel has made that 13 jersey his own. We know Lukhanyo is in the squad, so he could have been selected, but coming off that injury for the Sharks, not really having enough game time beforehand, I don't think Rassie Erasmus was going to risk Lukhanyo for Jesse Creel. It is a bit of a dog-eat-dog world. I mean, Jesse Creel has taken Lukhanyo's place. And if Jesse Creel doesn't perform, you know that the next person is going to come up. Where does Kanan Moody slot in when he's fit? Lukhanyo is breathing down Jesse Creel's neck. So it's all good for Springbok Rugby. Competition does breed this very good team that we have. And I do think we could potentially even field two Springbok teams with the amounts of depth we have. But Damien de Allende and Jesse Creel definitely winners in this scenario. Then we move on to Siya Kolisi. Now, I do think Siya is a winner in this team just because of the press, the French press, and the comments that have been made about his performance at Racing 92. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Siya Kolisi to perform on Saturday. He's captain. He's wearing the number 6 jersey. And we do know as fans that when he puts that 6 jersey on, he is just a different animal for the Springboks. He has so much pride and passion for that jersey. And I think there were a lot of people saying that Siya Kolisi should have potentially started on the bench, give him a little bit of game time because he is coming off that injury towards the back end of the season. But no, Rassie Erasmus has backed his boy. He's going to start him. He's going to captain, and he is going to lead South Africa in. So I do think it's going to be interesting. Siya hasn't been playing great rugby for Racing 92. But like I said, he does have that extra little bit of oomph when he puts on the Springbok jersey. Then staying in the loose forwards, Kwagga Smith is definitely a winner in this side. I mean, it was a conversation between Evan Roos, who had a great game for Wales against Wales, or Kwagga Smith. Obviously, Jasper Visser is in the mix, but he is still banned, so he isn't eligible to play. I thought Evan Roos had a phenomenal game against Wales. Kwagga Smith provides something a little bit different to that of Evan Roos. Evan Roos is that big number 8 ball carrier, that Springbok 8 mold. Kwagga Smith is more of a fetcher. He's more of a disruptor at ruck time. He's a little bit more agile. He's used more for utility. And I think Rassie Erasmus has included him starting in that number 8 position to disrupt Ireland's breakdowns. If Kwagga can get in there and steal 2, 3, 4, make 2, 3, 4 turnovers within 50 minutes, then I think that's job well done by Kwagga Smith. I think he's there, and the next player we're going to speak about, Marco van Staden, who also had a great season for the Bulls, coming off a little bit of an injury, but those two are there to come in and disrupt that breakdown from Ireland so that they can't get quick balls, so that they can't do all of their fancy moves. And I think we're going to see a lot of turnovers for South Africa in this game. We've got Kwagga Smith, Peter Steph du Toit, Siya Kolisi, Marco van Staden. Gerrit Steenkamp could be used as a fetcher. Malcolm Marx comes off the bench. He's a fetcher. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that game plan unfolds. But Rassie Erasmus is showing his cards here. He's saying, we're going to come and try and attack that breakdown, slow your ball down, and then get that turnover and pin you back through kicking or through a penalty or something like that. We then move over into the backline player that I think is a winner, and that's Sasha Fynbog Mngumezulu. Now, he has played himself into this team. He came on against Wales, and he proved that he feels very, very comfortable and confident in a Springbok top. He absolutely bossed that field, and I do think it is a risky call putting Sasha Fynbog Mngumezulu on the bench with Grant Williams, because I think the pressure cooker is slightly higher this week against Ireland. There's a lot more eyeballs. There's a lot more riding on this series against Ireland. So when Sasha comes on, he could come on in the 10th minute if there's an injury. He could come on in the 60th minute. He needs to be ready for any situation. He might have to play 10, he might have to play 12, he might have to play 15. I don't think Rassie Erasmus is sure who he's going to sub Sasha Fynbog on for in this game against Ireland. But this is really going to put Sasha to the test against a very, very good side. And I do think if Sasha swims, then he will be an integral part of the Springbok team for this entire year. Then we move on to the losers of the team to face Ireland. And these are players that haven't been selected, that definitely had a case for being selected. The first one is Edwil van der Merwe, who misses out for Cheslin Colby and Kurtley Arendse and just kind of slides a little bit down the pecking order. Edwil van der Merwe had a phenomenal game against Wales. Man of the match performance. Rassie did say in a press conference last week that they are managing him a little bit, so maybe he has picked up a little bit of a niggle, but I do think he's very, very unfortunate to miss out on this test against Ireland. It would have been a great test to see Edwil van der Merwe go up against Ireland, but I do think he's going to be an integral part of the team moving forward this year. He just provides extra depth in that wing position, and the same can be said for Makazole Mapimpi, who I also feel is a little bit of a loser in this situation. Had an excellent performance against Wales. He never has a bad game in a Springbok top, but I feel like he's just a couple notches down the pecking order. Probably goes Cheslin, Kurtley, Edwil at the moment. When Kane and Moody's back, he can also add some depth in there. So, I mean, again, the Springboks are just blessed with so much depth. And yes, these players miss out, but it doesn't mean they're not going to be part of the squad for the remainder of the year and leading up to that 2027 Rugby World Cup. Moving into that sense position, I think Andre Esterhuizen will feel a little bit hard done by. He had a decent game against Wales. He provides something a little bit different to Damien de Allende. I think his attacking game is slightly more versatile than Damien de Allende. He's not just a battering ram, although he's a very good battering ram. I think he's going to feel a little bit hard done by, and he kind of just falls out due to the depth. I mean, Damien de Allende and Jesse Kriel are just so good together in that center position. They've done it over and over for the Springboks. So there is an argument to say that Andre Esterhuizen could have been involved in this side. Evan Roos misses out to Kwagga Smith, and this has been the big talking point after the squad was released. Evan Roos had a great game. He is more of the mold of a South African Springbok number 8. With Dwayne retiring, with Jasper Visser out, he is sort of like a Pierce Spies build, almost a like for like, and could be one of the future 8th man for the Springboks. Obviously, you've got a lot of guys. You've got Jasper Visser coming up. You got Jasper Visser, who's been banned. You've got Cameron Hanekom coming up. You've got Mpilo Gumede. You've got Pepsi Buthelezi. And you've got Evan Roos. So there's a lot of players there, a lot of depth. Again, a good problem to have, but I do feel like Evan Roos does miss out, unfortunately, this week. The next loser is Apelele Fassi. Now, Apelele Fassi kind of went out of the Springbok squad, and then he had a resurgence of a season for the Sharks this year. And they've put him back in. They gave him a chance against Wales, and he took that with both hands. He caught 13 out of 13 high balls in that game. He had a phenomenal game at fullback, and I think, again, it's just a very, very difficult decision. Do you go for Apelele Fassi, who had a very good game against Wales, or do you go for the 94 capped Springbok double World Cup winning fullback Willie Leroux with all the experience? There's also an argument that Sasha could start at 15 when Damian Willems is back. Then who starts at 15? So again, depth is the only killer here. That's why a lot of these players have missed out, is because there's just so much quality in that Springbok lineup. Now, the next player I want to talk about and take about a minute to talk about is Manie Libbok. Now, it kind of feels like Manie's fallen off of the planet a little bit, because the last time we saw him in a Springbok top was in the semi-finals of the Rugby World Cup last year. He could have played against Wales. He was eligible. Rassie decided to go for Jordan Hendrikse in a decision that maybe flopped a little bit, and I do think Manie will feel very hard done by. I mean, for me, he's probably our second best fly-off. Handré Pollard being number one, then Manie Libbok, and I think he just probably missed out here. You could have added him on the bench, but then again, Sasha Feinberg and Gumba Zulu gives you a little bit more utility. Manie can play 10 and 15. Sasha can play 10, 12. We've seen him play 12 for the Stormers. He can play 15. He can probably slot in on the wings, maybe even center. So I think he just misses out on the bench to Sasha, just because Sasha provides that little extra bit of utility. It's going to be very interesting to see how this team looks at the end of the year when Damian Willems is back. We've got Manie Libbok, when Kanan Moody's back. How on earth is Rassie Erasmus going to pick that back line? Then the final player I want to talk about is Thomas du Toit. I think a little bit harsh. I had him being on the bench for the Springboks in this Island test, but he missed out to Gerrit Steenkamp. And I think Thomas du Toit, maybe not so much Trevor, but Thomas could probably feel quite hard done by here. He had a great debut season in the Premiership for Bath. He's seen as a crucial member of the squad building to the 2027 Rugby World Cup. He has about 18 caps for the Springboks already. So he does have that experience, and now he's just gathered a lot of form over the last season. So I definitely feel he will feel like he's missed out just a little bit. So those are the winners and the losers of the Springbok team to face Ireland. Let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. If you haven't, please make sure you absolutely mud that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.